Publicly listed companies turning over millions or even billions might seem like a world away from your humble web design agency, but they actually share some surprising similarities, and there are also important lessons that you can learn from them. In this video, I'm going to share the powerful secret of running your web design agency like it's publicly listed, and how it can help to boost your productivity and profitability, keep you focused, and help you take your business to new heights. Hi, thanks for joining. If you're new to the channel, I'm Rich Dean, a web designer and developer, former web agency owner, and author of the book series Start, Grow and Sell Your Web Design Agency. My goal is to help anyone looking to start, grow and sell an agency to save time, earn more money, avoid the common mistakes and pitfalls, and build a thriving and valuable business. Okay, so on to the main topic, starting with why this matters. Okay, so the important part here is accountability. When you run a business, and especially if it's just you, then just like anything you do on your own, it can be easy to take your foot off the gas or to just become complacent over time, especially if there's nobody else judging your performance. It's a bit like going to the gym or just getting fit. You'll almost always achieve better results if you have someone else, like a personal trainer, holding you to account. Bringing this back to business, publicly listed companies have to be accountable. They're basically offering ownership of their companies to anyone who wants to invest via the ownership of their shares. But for people to invest, they need to know what they're buying. And so publicly listed companies have to be completely open and accountable about every aspect of their business, especially their finances and their overall performance, as this affects whether people will want to invest in them and how much they'll want to pay. Now, as I said at the start of this video, this might all seem like a world away from your web design agency, which is probably tiny in comparison to a publicly listed company, but the lesson is the same. When I ran my web design agency, I knew it would never become publicly listed, and I knew the only people who would probably ever see the finances would be me, my accountants, and probably the tax authorities. But that didn't matter. To me, I always treated the business's finances as if the whole world was looking in and judging my performance. That might seem strange, but this imagined accountability was actually incredibly powerful at keeping me focused and making sure my business was performing as well as possible. I imagined having to give shareholder meetings and giving updates on how the business was performing. For every decision I made, every purchase, and for everything that happened in my business, I imagined having to explain the reasons why. When you have that accountability, whether it's imagined or not, it helps drive you, and it helps to ensure you make the best decisions for your business, which overall helps its performance and growth. Number 2, start with data. If you've ever watched a big corporate shareholder meeting or update, you'll notice that they talk in emotive terms that the everyday person can understand. They say things like sales are up in the last quarter, or our new product launch was received better than expected, or sales were down year on year because of supply issues. But behind all those headline statements is real data which comes from multiple sources. In fact, most publicly listed companies are required to publish their data publicly. For your web design agency, the core to this will be your P&L, or your profit and loss. This is basically the difference between how much money your business earns versus how much it spends, with the difference being the profit. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, but the good news is that this data is actually really easy to collect, and keeping up-to-date records shouldn't be a chore. In fact, once you've done a bit of upfront work to get your data set up and collecting how you want it to, it shouldn't be too much work to maintain it moving forward. Accountancy software like Xero or QuickBooks make it really easy to get this data. I use Xero, and there's even a profit and loss section which lets me see all my incomings and outgoings at a glance. And I can even export this into a spreadsheet. If you're not using software like this, then you can still use things like bank statements and client invoices. It doesn't matter too much where you get the data from. What's more important is that you have it. Number 3, track your income and outgoings. Okay, before we get into this part, I need to ask you a really big favor. We're a new channel, and so it would really help us a lot if you could like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and also share this content with anyone else you think could benefit from it. It takes a lot of time to make these videos, so this will really help YouTube to recognize our content, and it will mean we can carry on making helpful videos just like this. Okay, back into it. So once you've established where you'll get your data from, you'll then need to get it into a format that you can not only work with, but that you enjoy working with. If the data is too complex, or the process of managing and updating it is too cumbersome, then it will probably become too much of a chore and you probably won't end up using it. The trick is to make this process super easy so that you're not put off by it and that you actually enjoy it. It might sound odd, but when I ran my agency, I used to love reviewing my data, and it gave me control. When things were going well, it felt great to see my agency performing well, making a healthy profit, and to see it grow. When times were tough, having data to help me see patterns and trends was invaluable. Software like Xero or QuickBooks are great at helping you get the core data in the first place, but the data is usually in a standard format that's meant for accountants. It might not be broken down exactly the way you want it, but that's okay. It can work as a good starting point, but when I ran my agency, I like to have a much broader and more granular set of data. So I would always export the core data from Xero and then rework it in my own spreadsheets so that I could have a much more detailed oversight of where our sales and income was coming from and where it was going. I tracked how much the agency was making through sales and new and repeat business. And then I also had a detailed overview of everything that we were spending, including what I was paying myself. This helped me track where our money was coming from, where it was going, and how healthy we were based on how much profit we were making. Number 4, measure monthly and quarterly. Just tracking the data on its own isn't enough though. If you just did this once, it might be useful, but you need to get into a habit of doing this on a regular basis. Your business is an evolving, ever-changing thing, and so is the money that it makes and spends. So the best structure that I would recommend is monthly and yearly. You can track it more regularly if you like, and I like to review my data every few days, but monthly and yearly is probably the minimum. Having a detailed summary of each month is important, as not only will you be able to see how well you've done or not done, but over time, this will also help you to see patterns and trends. That's critical. The whole point of data like this is that it helps you run your business, and that means actively making decisions. If you just did this data analysis on a one-off, you'd have no idea if your business was improving or going backwards. Building this data every month helps you see where your business is going. Is what you spend going up over time and eating into your profits? Is your revenue growing or shrinking each month? Are your profits increasing or getting smaller? These are the things that can fundamentally impact your business, but you won't know whether they're improving or getting worse unless you track them regularly. Number 5, look at the broader picture. The data we've discussed so far should be the core of what you collect, but it doesn't just start with profit and loss. In fact, if we think back to those big publicly listed companies, financial data is a requirement and serves as the bedrock of their reporting, but they need to present a lot more insight. Financial data is the what, but it doesn't always give you the how or the why. So you need to complement your core financial data with other types of data in your business. These can include things like marketing data, so how successfully and engaging your marketing activities are. Sales data, including how many leads and inquiries you're getting and how many you're converting. Performance data, so how well you or your team are delivering the websites and whether you're keeping within times and budgets. And broader market data, like how many clients you have, what their value is, and what sectors they operate in. If you can build this data too, then it can give you a much better and broader insight into not only how your business is performing, but also broader market conditions and trends that could affect it. And this is exactly how those publicly listed companies think. And like I said at the start of this video, even if it's just you and your business, imagining that you're required to present this data to the outside world can be hugely powerful in keeping you focused and making decisions that are right for your business. And if you one day want to sell your web design agency, then this is exactly the kind of data that potential buyers will want to see. So starting now will give you a much better chance of selling when you do come to sell. Okay, so hopefully you found this video useful. If you've enjoyed it, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you'd like more tips and insights for how to grow your business, check out my book series, Start, Grow and Sell Your Web Design Agency, which you can buy from Amazon now, and I'll share a link in the description below. And if you'd like to watch even more informative content, then why not check out this video here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.